Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Climb, the Confident Leader podcast. I'm your host, Rahul Karan Sharma, where I bring you stories from leaders moving from invisible to becoming an influencer. Today, I have a amazing friend and a guest coming from a neighborhood. I don't see many people coming from a Washington, D.C. metro area, but I'm glad that we have him from this area. He's a former yard dog turned founder, best-selling author of Born or Made, and the host of the Born or Made podcast. He built a multi-million dollar company from the ground up with grit, integrity, and no shortcuts. And now he helps everyday entrepreneurs do the same. He speaks truthfully about what it really takes to build a business. So don't think that only dollars will help you driving the business. Your inner drive is very, very important. His new movement, Built from Grit, is all about giving raw, real world lessons to underdog founders who are figuring it out as they go. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome one and only Larry G. Dix, bestselling author, entrepreneur, legacy builder to the Climb podcast. Welcome, Larry, to our show. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, and good to be in Virginia together. I don't get to talk to anybody in Virginia either, so this is awesome.
Yes. I think people work more globally and less locally, but I'm glad that we were able to connect with our local network. So a lot of great things you have been doing, my friend. Please enlighten our audience with your leadership journey. What made you do what you're doing today?
Well, it's funny because most people think of the word entrepreneur and, me being 62-year-old, I call it overnight success. Guy had started working when he was 11 years old and just trying to get out there and show people that this is a long, treacherous journey. Everybody sees you where you are today. You think at the peak, I use this analogy, they can't see it, but, the peak is very narrow. And most of us are going through, either into the abyss or out of the abyss or the valley of darkness. Everybody wants to see you on the top, but nobody wants to talk about the stuff you got to go through. And I did that from a kid just, out of South Texas, and just got a job, as you read earlier, a yard dog, which was a human forklift in a lumber yard. This was back in 1982. And you just got out there and you worked, and it was manual labor. And I just worked my way up. What saved me was I ended up being a really good sales guy.
Hmm.
Quick answer. And I studied sales. I listened to Zig Ziglar and, Les Brown and these highly motivating guys back in the day. And I just, learned how to sell. And then we can go through a bunch of stuff. I was very fortunate to work for some incredibly smart business guys, never went to college.
Mhm.
And, but I got guys that saw a little bit of, that thought I had something special, and they invested in me, and it turned out well.
Wow. Wow, great. What I'm learning from your story is you were a great salesperson. You were always looking to learn from famous entrepreneurs, businessmen, and most importantly, someone believed in you. Someone decided that we need to invest in Larry, and that's where you are giving back to society by showing the same belief to other new entrepreneurs, experienced entrepreneurs who are burning out. And rather than thriving, they are burning out, and you are helping them to thrive. So, thank you, Larry, for what you're doing, my friend. It's amazing cause, and I think it's a need of an hour because we are living in that hustle and bustle life. Everyone is going after those numbers. Everyone is running to catch their next goal rather than taking a deep breath and focusing on what they can control internally, what they can control from their own perspective, rather than chasing something, rather than controlling something that they cannot control. So, uh, great perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about, people believing in me and taking a chance, but something we need to always remind entrepreneurs is you got to believe in yourself. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying that's every day, and sometimes it's not every hour. I mean, we go from, thinking we can run a Fortune 500 company to can't run a lemonade stand because of the confidence and stuff. But you've got to get up every day and do it over and over again. But you've got to walk into a room and be in charge. And we don't talk about that enough. There's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, right? You got to be confident, but you can't be arrogant. But you've
Mm.
got to believe in yourself or other people won't. And I think I always had that kind of uncanny ability to get up every day and just start the day as a new man. And I think people saw that. And I did have as a general rule, I had an incredibly good attitude because, as you said, I was a ferocious learner. You think about in our generation, we had to go to the library. We had to
Mhm.
see a magazine. If you had a magazine delivered to your house, that was something special.
Yeah.
Now we have, access, with these darn computers that we carry in our pockets to information like you and I never even could have fathomed 40 years ago,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
constant learning.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, Larry, your book navigates the timeless debate of whether success is inbuilt or forged through experience. How your experience of a yard dog at the age of 18 to leading the apex shape your take on being born or made. Share with us what changed and why you firmly believe that people are made. It's just not about it's a big facade out there that people are born. Enlighten us with your thought process.
So what happened was I didn't really know, right? So I started writing the book Born or Made, and I started studying this thing and going back in life, right? You have these thousands of stories and days
Mhm.
that you forget about. And then I started really looking, and I had this, incredible ability to have discipline at a very young age. And I didn't know it. But I
Mhm.
went back and started really realizing that, I was able to do that. And then I just had, like I said earlier, I just had a really good attitude. I had great parents. I saw my father graduate from college when I was 12 years old. So I saw a man that, I mean, he grew up under people's houses. He was dirt poor, but he had ambition and drive. And you just had, I had great role models to see that. And my parents, the one thing I remember, this just popped in my head. My
Mhm.
parents said, look, if you're going to be a guy that picks up trash in the ditches, they just said, just be the best guy in the ditches.
Yeah.
And that's a huge deal, and we don't talk about that because of the journey, because, I mean, I guarantee you, you didn't start off with your first job as a success. I mean, you start at the bottom, whatever that is for
Mhm.
everybody, and then just having the will to get up, and if you'll stick with stuff long enough, most people drop off, and I didn't even realize that till I was about in my 30s, and I
Mhm.
started realizing, like, well, if I just stay with this company, this one of these guys is going to quit.
Mm.
And inevitably they do. Well, the guy that stays there gets in the next slot. And so, there's lots of things we can help people, you and I, especially in our age, can
Yeah.
help people with is this, you didn't grow up and have a podcast the first day. It
Sure.
takes time and you have to do hundreds of them to get it right. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. And then I think you're bringing a great point that it does not matter the role you play or the company that you work for. Wherever you are, just go out and give your best because that is what is in our hand. The effort, the passion that we bring is in our hand. All the other aspects is something is beyond your control. So I really agree with you that listeners, if you are having that self pity mode, that things are not happening to you, just think, take a deep breath, and just give all in whatever you're doing. Either that is, as Larry mentioned, either you're picking up a trash, or you are driving an Uber, or you are a CEO of a company. Just give in your best, and I'm very confident that when you are giving your best, when you are working with your passion, results will come in. It's just all about that story that 3 feet away gold. There was a gold digger, in I think it was Colorado or somewhere in California. He was just 3 feet away to get the gold when he gave up, and then someone else took it over, and he found the success in just a day, where someone else was digging that gold for almost weeks. So
mhm.
you never know that you are just few feet away from that success. Your job is just to keep on going, keep on giving, your best.
and be willing to pivot. I mean, I didn't, I wanted, as I start off, I wanted to be a business guy. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I was like 15. I bought a dog and I named it Million because I wanted to be a millionaire. Well, I can tell you what, in 1977, I didn't even know what that meant.
Mm.
But you stick with it, you kind of think or whatever, and then you find out later money's just a tool. It doesn't bring you happiness. It's just a form of being able to do things you want to do or start other businesses. But yeah, but I never had like I was going to be this when I grew up. I just knew I wanted to be in a business. I manufacture trusses now, and 90% of the population don't even know what those are. But
Mm.
I got into it, it worked, and here I am today. So
Wow. Since you're talking about that, you should be ready to pivot. Um, can you share a pivotal moment in your career or a mindset tool that helped you move from that self doubt to confidence?
So one was a great, so I use this term a lot. You can use, if you take a loss, you can use it to either inspire or defeat you. And I'm 17 years old. I graduate 142 out of 147 in my class. So I was at the bottom of my class, not an academic by any stretch. And I'm walking across this complex down in Texas, a sports complex, and a friend of my dad's came up to me, and he was working at a tech company. They were working on incredible stuff. And I'll never forget, he walked up to me, and I was a very nice young man. He comes up to me and he goes, "Larry, how you doing?" And we talked for a second. He's, I just want to let you know that I think you're the dumbest. And he called me an MFer right there to my face. This is a 45, 50-year-old guy. When you're 17, he's dirt, right? He's older than,
Mhm.
old man. And I remember that. And I don't remember saying anything negative back to him or anything like that. But I carried that on my shoulder for a many, many years, because at that moment I can remember saying, you know what, I'm going to make more money and be more successful than you are. And when I wrote my book, I wish I would have been, I wish I knew who he was, because I'd go up and shake his hand and tell him thank you. But my point is, I took that energy and used it for positive
Mm.
instead of negative, going around. You mentioned something about, pity parties and stuff. I'm the king of pity parties. I can do that. I get on those things. And you know what? You got to blow the candles out and get on. And I struggle with it at 62, but I've been able to take that defeated or inspired, and I take that negative energy and create it into something positive. And I use that as motivation to continue to aspire to do something great. And quite frankly, he was an image that I still see to this day. And like I said, I don't know who he is now. I'd like to shake his hand and tell him thank you. But
Mhm.
that was a pivotal. I mean, I'm 17 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm a kid. And a
Sure.
man comes up to me. I would never do that to anyone, and you wouldn't either.
Mhm.
But that could have. There are people that would get that in their face, and it could destroy them.
Sure.
But again, I was a determined kid. I had incredible discipline, and I was willing to do whatever I had to do, legally and ethically, that I was going to get ahead.
Absolutely. And what you are mentioning is so true. Do not allow anyone else to design your destiny. If someone is telling you something, it is their perspective, right? That would not define you. That should not define you. As Larry has mentioned earlier, the belief in yourself is so important. It has to
Hmm.
be more than anyone else. Yes, your surroundings, your coach, your mentor, your parents needs to have a belief in you. But all that matters when you are actually at the game is your own belief. Everyone else is just watching the game. You are the one who's playing it. So your confidence is really dictate everything. So never ever let that confidence go. Make
That's
sure
right.
that you believe in yourself.
And it's hard. I mean, there are days, there are days you do not have confidence. And when you're a leader, you can't show that. I mean, I can remember times driving into, in Virginia to Maryland or whatever, and picking up checks
Mhm.
to make my payroll for my employees. But I never walked in and go, "Woo, lucky we got that check. You wouldn't have had a paycheck." I was like, "Yeah, everything's great." You walk in and you have confidence. And, I can tell on it. I use this as an analogy. I've never missed a payroll, and I've never missed a tax payment,
Mm.
so those are important things. And so, but you got
Yeah.
to have that confidence. And there's more than many times that I didn't know if I was going to make them.
I was just coming on that. I know when we were doing our prep call, you did share a story where you were at a rock bottom. You had no way, no means to run the payroll, and you did something great. So, can you bring that memory back for me
Well,
as
the
well as for
one
our audience?
Yeah, one of them was, I mean, I was so broke that I didn't know how I was going to make payroll. And
Mm.
so we took our credit card machine from the office and we took it to our house. And
Mm,
Cheryl and I would sit down and we'd figure out what payroll was, and we'd run our personal credit cards
mm,
through to make payroll. And I remember telling my accountant that, and he's like, "Are you crazy?" I'm like, "Well, what am I going to do?" I just never saw defeat is an option. Like I was going to figure it out. And then during that time, that was during the 2008 through 2012 housing crisis. I'm bankrupt, and I'm 2010. I've got about $80,000 in assets, and I've got $2.2 million in debt. So I meet with an attorney, bankrupt attorney, and he's sitting there with me, and we're going all the numbers, and I'm broke. And he's like, he slides the paper across, goes, "Well, here's what we got to do, Larry." He goes, "Just give me 90 days and a check for $10,000 and we can make all this go away." So I looked at him, I slid the paper across back to him. I said, "So what you're telling me is I can't go bankrupt?" He slides the paper back off and he goes, "No, Larry, you're bankrupt. Here are the numbers." And I leaned in and I said, "But you don't understand. I don't have $10,000.
mm,
He leans back in his chair. It's so funny. He looks at me and he goes, "Well, Larry, that's going to be a problem." But I can say standing here today, I did not file bankruptcy and I paid every single person back.
mm,
But, I can keep going down the story. I mean, I ended up buying a vending route I borrowed 50 grand from my dad
mm.
and I filled vending machines for 3 years in the evenings, during the day, while running a trust plan. And I was the CEO of it, founder of a company, and I'm out stuffing, 65-cent bags of chips, scrounging together every day to keep my food on my table and make my house payments. And that's the stuff people got to be willing to do. You got to be willing to do. If it's honest and ethical, you do what you got to do. And I did. And it was brutal. I was filling up a Suburban
Mm.
with Cokes and sodas, or, sodas and chips and chocolate. I had to leave it running so they wouldn't melt in the middle of the summer. I mean, and answering phones, people I owed money to, and then filling vending machines and kids making fun of me. But I got through it. And guess what? 3 years later, I sold it for $90,000, gave my parents back 50, and I made 40 grand.
Wow, very good. And I think that's so inspiring, your story. And also, I could see that pain that you went through
Oh,
during that time, because most of us, when we see you or people like you, we always see the brighter side. We always see
uh-huh.
the Larry that we are seeing today, but we do not take that time to look back in the journey. We think that the success is all that rosy picture, but it's not. You have to go through all those growing pains, and it is tough. It is not easy to become an entrepreneur. It is not that easy to run a business, a multi-million-dollar business. And on that note, I always say that if you know anyone within your inner circle who is running a business or is starting a business, if you can do anything for them, do it in their first 3 years of their career, because that is what it takes for someone to become successful. After they are
Yeah.
successful, if you are helping them, you are not doing what you are supposed to do if you are part of an inner circle. If you are not, that's okay. But if you really call someone a brother, if you really call someone as a true friend or a family, then go all out and support that business in the initial 3 years, because that's what statistics say, is that if an entrepreneur is able to survive for 3 years, they are run for they
What
will.
number have you heard as far, because I think it's either, I never get them exact. It's 80% of the businesses fail in the first 5 years.
Mhm.
Those are staggering numbers when you mean that's not good.
Sure. Yeah, not at
And we
all.
don't talk about that because everything on Instagram, everybody makes it. Everybody on social media makes it. Everybody on social media is driving fancy cars and living in big houses.
Mhm.
That isn't true. Because I can tell you what, I never lived in a big house, still don't, because I refuse to be house poor. But that's a bunch of bunk. Most of us, think about it, 80% of the country works for people like me and you,
Yes.
not for
Yes.
Elon Musk or, Bill Gates or something. I mean, most people are working for small family business. I mean, I have, 40 employees.
Mhm.
I don't even, I'm in the bottom one tenth of 1%. I mean, but I
Correct.
still employ 40 people that I'm responsible for, and I take it personal. If I don't make it, they fail.
Yeah,
Their families don't have food.
correct. Correct. And on a similar line, Larry, and since we both are a podcast host, now this podcasting has become something like a hobby, a fashion, a buzzword. Every third or fourth person you see is doing a podcast. And what I have observed, in fact, I was looking at the report, 93% of podcasters are not successful. They quit before their 11th episode is out.
11?
Yes. So they quit. I mean, they just give away because when they start, they see the success of other podcasters, but they do not see their journey. They just see their success. Now
Hmm.
they think that okay, it's an easy I have to do. I just have to interview. I just have to look good. I just have to have a mic. But it is not that it. There are so many things that goes in to make a successful podcast. It's just not about two people talking and just doing having a conversation. It is that
Hmm.
impact we are making because we are investing time as well as our listeners who will be listening to us. They are investing time. We have a moral obligation to make sure that they are benefited. It is not about your and my benefit. We are doing it for the
For others.
mankind. We are doing it for the community. So, so similarly, like entrepreneurs, people see uh, those those Mercedes or people see those private jets. Okay, all the business owners are having all that fun, but there is a lot of things that goes in the background to be that person who is having that fun. So
Well, and thing they don't show too is even maybe you and I aren't flying in jets or Mercedes, but whatever we're driving in, we're still working and it's stop signs or we pull off and have to make
yeah,
phone calls and checking emails. I'm responding to emails sometimes 9 o'clock at night. And I'm not saying that to be proud,
yeah,
but I have a very high sense of urgency and I'm customer service driven. And even for my employees, and all my peers and stuff, but that's what people don't talk about.
correct.
Waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going, man, I don't know. I don't have enough sales, or I need to get paid, or,
Mhm.
I got a guy that's quitting on me, or, your top guy decides he gets a better job. I mean, these are all the things that nobody talks about.
Sure. Yep. Yeah.
It's hard.
It is hard. It's brutal, as you said, and this is the norm. So this is. I would not say that this brutalness,
Yes.
this hardness, is only happens to few. This happens to
Everybody.
everyone. This happens to every single entrepreneur, every single successful person. But how they navigate through those challenges is what define them. if
Right.
they if they give up to those challenges, if they give up to those obstacles, and it happens. Not everyone has the capacity to last for long. They give up, but that's what define that person.
Well, it's like the quote I was talking about earlier. You the guy working next to you, and you don't think you're ever going to move up in management or move up in your company. Well, that
Mhm,
guy quits. Well, it's
mhm,
no different. So when I started my trust plan in Fredericksburg, I could not give trusts away. I mean, there were four highly successful trust companies in this market.
mm,
Okay, and a fifth one out of the market that was controlling this market. Out of all of those companies that are there today, me and one other guy are the only ones left
mm.
because over time people quit or they go out of business or something. I hate for people to get taken out. I mean, it breaks my heart. But
Mm,
again, it's the same thing. But you got to stick with it. I've been in business 26 years. Well, if
mm.
you look at the stats, those number of businesses that have been in business 26 years, there's not very many
Absolutely.
because people quit. And if you can hold on long enough, there's going to be an economy that's going to benefit you. Like COVID, I was freaking out when COVID came in on the, March of 20. And I'm like, oh my God, we're going to have to plan on, I was already meeting with everybody. We're going to be down 30%. Well,
Mm,
I didn't know my business was going to double,
correct. Yeah. Yeah.
but
So
I was in an economy long enough. I stayed in it long enough that something benefited me. Now that I would have never seen, but it does happen.
yeah.
Don't quit. If you can avoid, I mean, sometimes look, you make a bad deal and sometimes you just have a bad business model. I
Mm.
mean, right. I mean, ask all the guys at Walmart's taken out. I mean, and look what Amazon's doing. I mean, you got to be willing to pivot. You got to be willing to adjust. But sometimes the other thing is sometimes things just happen. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, yeah. Now, Larry, someone who is listening to us and they are going through that notion of self-doubt or a recent setback, what actionable steps you would advise from your unwritten rules of the top 1% that they should implement right away?
Yeah, I mean, number one thing for me, especially even more so now, is discipline. You got to
Mm,
be disciplined at everything you do. So I get up at 4 o'clock every morning and I have a very strict regiment that I do. But I also, so I'm physically fit. I go through all this stuff. I eat my supplements. I read two newspapers. I check my emails. I'm looking at my banks. I work out for a minimum an hour to an hour and a half. So what happens to me is, so when I'm by 8 o'clock, I've already done all this stuff. So I build a foundation for myself. And I try to tell people, like, you need to build a foundation. So when someone comes at you, you're prepared and they can't knock you off. Know how much receivables you are, your payables, review your financials. These are things that are simple that you can do. And if you do them every day, it takes 5 minutes because you just go through and you boom, 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 boom. You know the numbers, you know where they should be. If you see something off, you can flag. So discipline on all your systems every single day. And it'll help you because you'll have clarity, you'll have vision. Because what we do so much as entrepreneurs, and I've done this, is you just don't look. Like, well, if I just keep driving and I don't look, I know it's going to go away. It never goes away.
Yeah.
So my number one thing is I tell people, build discipline and build it and do not change. Like,
Uh,
discipline is a big deal to me.
yeah. So this is the answer for you, team. If you are having that setback, if you are having that self-doubt, ask yourself, how disciplined were you in your previous assignments? Just
Mhm.
bring that discipline in your life, and you will see that impact happening. Again, and I am not suggesting that you will get overnight impact,
No.
but you need to be disciplined for a time period. So maybe that time period could be a week, 10 weeks, 1 year, depending on what you're trying to do. But
Yeah.
be disciplined.
I would not tell anybody to start doing what I'm doing today because I didn't do that. I
Mhm.
started by reviewing my financials. Well, just do that every day for a week
Mm.
or a month. And then when you get done with reviewing your financials, then maybe you start looking at your cash flow projection, or, maybe that's when you get up a little bit earlier and do a couple of push-ups every day. And over time, if you do that over a year, you could build 10 different things that build into one discipline that now suddenly just builds this foundation. You got to have footers, right? Everybody, foundations are built by design, and you have to have the same principle as with your life, is just build these disciplines over time. And suddenly you'll wake up and you'll be like you and me, 62-year-old overnight success. And then people are like, wow, you're like, well, I started working when I was 11.
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
I had deferred gratification. I wanted certain things, and some of them, I wanted a Porsche 911 turbo since
Mm.
I was a kid. I saw one, and you know what? I was 57 years old before I got that car because
Mm.
it's deferred, but I never gave up. And if I didn't get it, it wasn't gonna define me. But
Mm.
I can go through list after list of things that I've achieved that took me decades. And then everybody says, "Oh, look at you doing all." I'm like, yeah, well, there were a lot of sleepless nights. A lot of times I couldn't eat. There were a lot of times I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning and stared out the window, you
Mm.
know, into the abyss.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the part and parcel of an entrepreneur. So, uh, people who are in the corporate world, they see from a outside in perspective that, hey, being an entrepreneur is so good. They travel the
Yeah.
world, but do realize that it takes time. It takes courage, and it is not that easy.
Mm-mm.
Just because they are making you look easy does not mean that it is easy. It's challenging.
And I'm 62 and I've done okay. And guess what? Never comfortable either. Like,
Mm.
I'm never like, "Oh, I made it." I'm like, "Well, what if a guy builds a trust plant down the street? What if AI does something and changes this?" Or, Trump puts, 200% tariffs on lumber and my costs go through the roof and I don't have contracts covered and I'm taking losses on every job for 3 months. Or, I mean, you better never get comfortable either. I mean, I guarantee you, Raw, you're not comfortable. You
Mm.
may you may be on the surface like, oh, like a duck, right? But you're pedaling like crazy underneath that calm water, because you better be on your game, because somebody is trying to take you out.
Mm.
You don't know who it is 99% of the time.
Correct. And I think the other aspect that I see, Larry, is there is a lot of negativity around us, either through social media or either through the action that people are around us are taking. And as we know that we generate as a human being, we generate close to 60,000 thoughts in a day, and most of them are negative. From your perspective, and when someone is having their mindset very negative, what is the role of inner voice in building up our confidence, what they can do to really have a very powerful, positive outlook?
Well, I can tell you what I do now. I
Mhm.
wasn't always good at this, but I've gotten a lot better. Is, Raul, I look around me and I'm like, my wife is healthy. I've got
Mhm.
3 healthy children, 3 healthy, son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws. I've got 9 healthy grandkids. 2 of my parents are still alive of my 4, mine and Cheryl's are 4 combined. And I try to look at this stuff to be grateful for. I mean, I live on a farm in Virginia. I, get to see cows, the sun rises, and look at the small stuff because, man, and again, I've got a lot more clarity like you do now. I'm not saying I did this when I was 30, but I just have a wonderful life. I had a great childhood and just seek the positives. Look, like you said, 60,000 thoughts and, 52,000 of them are negative, but there's at least 8,000 and build on the 8,000 that are there and try to and turn it around because, there's a guy out there that's quoted this and I didn't come up with this. He goes, let's say we worry about 52,000 things a day, but if you get sick, you only worry about one.
Mm.
And you think about is our health. Like I mean, I am as healthy as a horse. People tell me like, man, you're such a great shape. I'm like, I am today, I mean, but in keep things in perspective. Another thing that I tell people and people that are not entrepreneurs don't understand, but I'm like, God doesn't ask for your balance sheet when you get there. So
Mm.
all this stuff that you're, going around accumulating, you're leaving all this stuff behind you. So keep things in perspective. But
Mm.
I now it's health and just wonderful children that still like me. And I got grandkids that think I'm a cool guy,
Yeah.
and I know, and when they get to be 15 and 18 years old, they're going to think I'm not, but I'm enjoying the time that I have now. And so back to your original question, man, just look all the great stuff around you. If there's 60,000 and 52 are bad, try to lock in on the 8 because the 52 will drown you.
Mm. What a great perspective you are bringing is not to focus on things that are more in number, but
Yeah.
tend to focus which are less in numbers. And I think the perspective that you brought in, that you're able to see the sunrise, you're able to see that your family is healthy. Sometimes we don't see those things as a good sign. We think that
Yeah.
okay, so what, man? It's given. But by now what does it takes to be healthy. I know when it has taken time for me to have those 5,000 steps, 7,000 steps on a daily basis. It
Mhm.
has taken me time to be consistent and then put health on priority. I mean, 2 years ago, I was working for corporate America. I mean, though I was doing everything, but I was not prioritizing my health. And now God has given me this sign that, hey, move away. Is I always believe whatever happens, happens for good. So I moved out of corporate America. I'm not saying that I'm a successful businessman in 2 years, but I'm a very happy human being. I'm very happy for what I'm doing for myself. Yes, business will come because I know there are people looking out for people like me. It's just
Mhm.
I've not met everyone. It's in progress, but every day I'm making an attempt to have an interaction with just one person, one at a time. I don't want to impact the world, but I want to impact that one person who in turn can impact another person. And that's the,
And you don't know what you did, and you may never know. You may
yeah,
have said one thing to one kid or one young man or young woman that could change their lives,
yeah,
and you don't even know it.
absolutely. And then you're so right because it happened last year, Larry. Someone connected with me on LinkedIn after almost a decade. And that person was telling me that it is because of you I'm here where I'm working. And I was not able to recollect. Then that person reminded me that when the first time I came for interview, all the people who took my interview, they rejected me. And it was you towards the end, I came to you and but you saw something in me. You believed in me and you gave me an opportunity. Because you gave that opportunity, I was able to become successful in today in my career. Now for me, back then, I would have done this for maybe 100 others. I do not remember. But for that one person, he remembered and he's cherishing that memory for life because I do believe that he would also do something for someone else. And that's how we make world a happier place.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, he may put his kid through college because you gave him a chance to get a good job. That his kid may be the one that s- figures out cure for cancer or Alzheimer's or whatever. I mean, in and I think about things that big. Like I think about you never know what one thing you can say. I mean, you think about that guy that said that to me when I was 17 years old. That
mhm.
was pretty crappy when you think about it, but thank God he did because I mean, I don't know if maybe that's what I needed at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I needed to get punched in the nose and say, "Hey, Dix, you need to get it in gear and you're going to make yourself something. You're not going to college, and clearly, and you got to get out there and make it happen." And thankfully, now I love it. When I write that in the book, I was just like, I need to shake that guy's hand.
Cool.
But
Since we are talking about that book, can you give a sneak peek of your book, Born or Made, what they can expect in that book, and why someone should read it?
so it's I wrote the book and it's now biblically based, so it has scripture in the front of the chapter and in the back of each chapter. And so what I wanted to try to do is just give you real life stories, like some of the few stories that I'm telling you now. I mean, and they're real stories. Like, part I didn't tell you about earlier was like, when I found out I was going through bankruptcy, I spent 3 weeks at the bottom of a vodka bottle. Well, guess what? I don't go around telling everybody that because they see me as this super healthy guy, doesn't drink, super athletic. Yeah, you know what? I felt sorry for myself, and I thought if I drank myself enough, I'd figure it out. And I had to get up one morning and say, enough, that's it. And I stopped and I went down and told Cheryl, I said, I don't care what we do, we're going to figure it out. If we're 10 million or 2 million, bankrupt is bankrupt. And I'm telling people true stories of things like that, you know, like you said, right? You see us today. Well, I can tell you what, I was on the verge of being an alcoholic.
Mm,
But I made it through. I made the decision. I took the discipline. One of my pillars is make a decision. And I
mm,
made a decision that I wasn't going to do this anymore,
mm,
and that's the stories of this stuff, the true understanding of an entrepreneur, because like you said, everybody sees us riding around in private jets. Well, maybe you have a private jet, but I can tell you what, I don't.
mm,
I still got to ride in the back of an American Airlines thing, go through TSA and hate life. And the only positive thing I've got is I got, TSA pre,
mhm.
big deal. You still sucks going through there. And so just the true life stories of feeling defeated and having to get up and saying, you know what? Look in the mirror and say, this is going to depend on you, big boy. So
Mhm,
step it up and get it done. Because you got 3 kids in the other room in there that are going to depend on you, whether you're successful. So if you have 40 employees, that means you potentially have a responsibility for 160 people
mm,
for your success or failure. And I talk about this and the importance of that. You know, put things out there that put pressure on you.
mm,
Talk about the fact that, you got 3 little babies that depend on your success. You got a wife that married you, moved across the country so that you could be successful. So are
mhm,
you going to let them down? And I
mm,
talk about that in Born or Made. And then I apply scripture to it, talking about, God expects some of this stuff. Some of this is going to be, God never said you're going to be happy. He never said you're going to be, the road's going to be easy.
mhm,
So what do you think you're going to do as an entrepreneur? You worked in corporate life, you were a successful corporate guy. There's a lot of things about corporations that when I worked in it, I don't like,
mhm,
but I was able to apply that to my business. That's do what's right. And Apex Trust is that I realize, people, this is another thing I talk about in the book is look, everybody talks about mentors, right? That's a real cool thing right now. Well,
mhm,
guess what? Bad bosses can still be great mentors because when you own a company, you're going to go, I'm never going to treat my employees that way.
mhm,
I'm never going to do that to my employees. Wow, this guy did this. I want to make sure and do this to my employees. They're
mhm,
still mentors. Now, you don't have to go around and act like, oh, you're my best friend, but they're
mhm,
they're still teaching you stuff. So bad things teach you good things as well. And
mhm,
I took all these things. I had 3 guys that I worked for. One of them was an amazing guy. The other guy was amazing. The other guy was amazing. But the guy in the middle, I still have nightmares about that guy today. And I haven't worked for the guy in 27 years. And I once every 6 months or a year, I wake up like, whoo, okay, I don't work for that guy. And I talk
mhm,
about stuff like that in the book and just giving real life stories of there are days that it sucks. And I talk about drinking and pity parties and feeling sorry for myself and, having zero confidence and
mhm.
but willing to make a decision, have discipline, have determination, and then deliver on what you tell people you're going to do.
Wow.
And I call that the 4 Ds of successful entrepreneurship.
Awesome. So doing what's right is what you will learn in Born to Made, and also you will learn is that you are here for a purpose. You are
Yep.
here to make your own mark. You are not here because you have a silver spoon in your hand. So focus on doing things right. Focus on things that you still have a way to make it happen. So thank you, Larry, for penning it down and then bringing that book to our audience. We will include the book's link on our show notes. Now, before we move to our rapid fire round, the fun round, if listeners are more pleased and more excited to know about your journey or to work with you, what's the most effective way for them to connect with you?
So my website, Larry, Larryg is in Gene, but just Gene, GDIX.com, LarryGDix.com, and then bornormadepodcast.com. And they can reach out through that, talk to us, be happy to help you out in any way possible. We can help you out with financials. We can talk to you just in coaching and just understanding entrepreneurship. And, I'm a good resource for people to be able to talk to.
Awesome. We will include his contact information in our show notes as well. So as soon as we are done, as soon as you are done listening, connect with him. And if not, you will find a friend in him. You will find a mentor in him. So always, you need to have resources around you who can tell you what to do, what not to do. So
Learn from
now,
my mistakes.
yeah. Now, Larry, we are moving to our fun round. There will be 5 questions coming your way, and we would want to see the responses coming instantly. All right. You ready,
I'll do
my
my
friend?
best.
Okay. The first one is a quotation you live by.
That one's easy. Do what's right. I trademarked it. I believe it. I learned that from a man. I did not learn that word from him, but do what's right. It's not always the easy thing, but you always do the right thing, and good things will come.
Okay. Now, the next question you have already answered. As a ritual, I will ask, are you a morning person or a night owl?
100% morning. I was asleep. I fall asleep by 9 o'clock if I'm lucky. It's not earlier sometimes.
What's one daily routine you never skip, no matter how hectic your day has been?
Well, it's changed over time. Now it is definitely the first thing I do every morning was my alarm goes off. I put both feet on the ground and I pray before I leave. I don't let anything else get in my way. And that's that thing I was talking about, momentum and foundation. And I didn't always do that, but I started doing that. And that is I do not do that. I do not miss that no matter what, because that's something you can do if you're in a hotel or your house or wherever you are.
Okay, sounds good. What's one leadership skill you wish someone had taught you earlier?
Well, the one that's my best now and I think I had it. I didn't know I don't know that I was taught it is empathy.
Mhm.
Empathy is an important thing because I have an incredible skill to be able to relate to people where they are today. And that's hence Yard Dog founder. I've worked my way up from the very bottom to the founder of a company. And it's empathy, just being able to relate to people and be human with people, no matter their position in life or their corporation or whatever they're doing, and definitely empathy.
Okay.
And I've learned that skill for sure.
And the last one, if your career were a Netflix series, what would be the title of season one be?
Huh. I'm gonna true grit because
True
I
Grit.
have
Okay.
got some grit, man. I tell you what, I do. I am not a quitter.
Hmm.
And it would either be not a quitter, but I like True Grit because I like John Wayne, so a little play on him. But I would say it'd be True Grit,
True
and
Grit.
I truly do have grit. I'm a determined young man.
Very good. Well, Larry, it has been pleasure to host you. It's pleasure to know about you, your early childhood story or early leadership story, and how you are changing the world to be a better place, to make our entrepreneurs more successful. Listeners, if you are listening to us on Spotify or watching us on YouTube, now is the time for you to mention your biggest takeaway from the episode. As my ritual, I will share my learning. So there were many golden nuggets that were dropped in by Larry throughout the show. I picked up few. I'm sure you would all would have picked up a few. For me, the first one was um, do your best. Give your best in whatever you do. It does not matter whether the job is small or big, but whatever you are doing, just give your best and let the results follow. Another one was whether others believe in you or not, you need to have that belief in yourself. Be the biggest believer of who you are and who you want to be. Do not allow anyone else to design your destiny. Uh, Create the negative experience into positive. What happened to Larry when he was 17? Uh, that experience could have taken him into different direction, but he chose to convert that negative experience into positive and navigate it successfully. So we all will have these negative experiences in our life. It depends on us how we are navigating through it. So make sure you try to convert into a positive. Uh, Another is one thing, if you want to change to if you are having that self-doubt, self-belief issue, be disciplined. Be disciplined in everything. Bring that discipline and you will see the success coming in. How you can be happy, how you can avoid that self-negative talk, is just show the gratitude. Show the gratitude for things you have around you. At times, we are chasing for things that we don't have, and we do not cherish the things that we have.
Mhm.
From a time perspective, either we are thinking about future or thinking about the past. We have forgotten to live in present. As much as possible, try to live in the moment. It is a work in progress for me as well. It is
Mhm.
challenging, but I am improving day after day. That's pretty much it from the Climb Confident Leader podcast. I hope you all have enjoyed. And Larry, once again, thank you for joining us
Thank you,
and
Rahul.
wishing you all the best in your future endeavors.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you having me on.
Hmm. Bye bye.